4/28, 2021, and we have a daily chart on Apple. They're going to report earnings tonight, and I want to feature with all of our viewers that we have around the world, of course, is that we had some good earnings out of Shopify, Shop, and Google. Now, what I really want to show here, and I want to make this very clear, is here. Let's make the fonts a little bit bigger here so that everybody can see this. So we'll configure fonts. Let's take this up to 16, let's say. Hit apply, hit OK. Here, on expiration, tomorrow's on expiration Friday in 2 days, I want to point out they're buying 51,000 contracts of the 135 calls. They're also buying 56,000 contracts of the 140 calls up and out of the money. We can see they're buying 38,000 contracts in the money that are the 130 strike. Okay. We can also see they're buying 16,000 of the 137s. They're buying 17,000 contracts of the 136s. You can already see on that 135 call, the open interest was 47,800. Okay, they're cheap, and they're buying big. This is not small stuff. But when Microsoft had heavy volume yesterday, and we were in Microsoft, and Microsoft went down off of one of the greatest earnings reports they've had, and we've seen that. And look, we're watching the 133 put. They're hedging with 10,700 contracts over here. They're hedging with the 135 and 9,400 of the 134s. But when you take a look at the overall call volume versus the put volume, there's a big imbalance. And one of the things that we have seen lately is when all the money gets in here, and there's every reason to buy Apple, don't get me wrong about that. And the money is showing up here, and it is. If I go even up and out of the money, you start seeing they're buying up and out of the money 144s, 9,700 contracts, 9,200 of the 145s. So they're buying big contracts up and out of the money here on the 150s, 8,800. But we're focusing on the fact that these expire in 2 days. When you go to the May 7th, they're buying 36,000 contracts of the 135 calls. They're buying 57,000 contracts of the 140 calls. And they're cheap. They're not expensive. So the risk is low in dollar terms for this volume ahead of tonight's earnings release. So if we go out to May 14th, they're buying here as well, but the volume is not nearly as big. On May 21, they're buying 12,000 contracts of the 135s. They're buying 7,900, or now 8,000 contracts of the 140s. So they're buying up and out of the money, going out further, which is 23 days out. But 2 days out, they're expecting a huge pop. This is the volume right now. The time is 10:43 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And this is the earnings option preview of where we're currently at. And I can see where the volume is even going to go a lot higher. And Apple is going to have to produce upside guidance. They're going to have to really blow it out of the park. But remember, Microsoft blew it out of the park, and they did. And they gave upside guidance, and they did. And the stock is down $7. So it was buy the rumor, sell the news. That's exactly what happened. And when all of that volume went into the buy side, these little rat hole exchanges knew it. And then they did what? Sold the news. I like the Apple stock. It's one of the best of the breed, just like Microsoft, just like Google. just like shop, and they are. And one of the things that we're seeing though is what the best opportunity is, like Google. They gapped it way up, and we bought puts and we made money and we got out. And same thing on Shopify. They gapped it way up. In fact, Shopify went higher than Google did in dollar terms, as it did. Went up to 1301.61, and it opened at 1216 today. But nonetheless, this is the volume preview, and they're stepping in. And when I say they're stepping in big, 50, almost 52,000 of the 135 calls at $2. They're cheap. So if this thing pops, hey, it's not a bad trade. But I can just caution people with this kind of volume right here on the 140, these are extremely cheap, 58,000. So you got people buying these cheap calls going into this report, and you do. And I do like the fact that they're buying 29,000 of the 134s, and they're cheap. And the range, here are the ranges, 94 cents. So it's not like you get big ranges out of these calls. Once again, Apple preview earnings on the option volume that expire in 2 days. It's all right here, right now.